गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं ज्ञापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्म सम्प्राप्त कर्मबन्धविदारिणे आत्मज्ञानप्रदायिने तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम्। निर्गुणाय नित्यमुक्ताय निर्गुणाय नित्यमुक्ताय निर्गुणाय नित्यमुक्ताय निष्कलाय निर्लेपाय निरञ्जनाय नित्यशुद्धाय निष्कामाय निर्विकाराय निर्गुणाय नित्यमुक्ताय निष्कलाय निर्लेपाय निरञ्जनाय नित्यशुद्धाय निष्कामाय निर्विकाराय निष्पापाय निष्क्रियाय निष्क्रियाय निराबाधाय निराबाधाय निर्गुणाय निर्गुणाय नित्यमुक्ताय नित्यमुक्ताय निष्कलाय निर्लेपाय नित्यशुद्धाय निर्विकाराय निर्मोहाय निष्पापाय नित्यमुक्ताय 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 सर्वविद्यास्वरूपाय लक्ष्मी संश्लिष्टवक्षसे मधुपासनलक्ष्याय हयग्रीवाय मङ्गलम् शङ्खचक्रमहामुद्रा पुस्तकाढ्यं चतुर्भुजम् सम्पूर्णचन्द्रसङ्काशम् हयग्रीवमुपास्महे हयग्रीवमुपास्महे ज्ञानानन्दमयं रामम् निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आहारं तत्त्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवायितं नुमः हयग्रीवायितं नुमः शङ्कराचार्य नवावतारम् विश्वेश्वरं विश्वगुरुं प्रणम्य वेदान्तशास्त्र श्रवणालसानां बोधाय गुरुवे किमपि प्रबन्धम् बोधाय गुरुवे किमपि प्रबन्धम् श्रीमद्हयग्रीव पदारविन्द कारुण्यमानन्द रसप्रसङ्गात् मन्दाशयोद्धारण बद्धबुद्धिः सिद्धान्तबिन्दुम् विपुलीकरोमि सिद्धान्तबिन्दुम् विपुलीकरोमि all thinking from the spiritual viewpoint is merely vanity, or in other words, excessive pride, illusion, and pomposity, meaning to show off. Trying to show off that one is greater than all others, like that pomposity. So, from the spiritual standpoint, not from the transactional standpoint, but from the spiritual viewpoint standpoint, all thinking is vanity, illusion, and pomposity. The less one thinks, the more delightful the life becomes. Generally, our understanding is different. More we think, more happier we become. The less we think, more delightful the life becomes. As we advance in the spiritual path and reach higher levels, thinkingness eventually becomes replaced by knowingness. In other words, the conscious awareness. So it is simply knowing things, that knowingness. Thinkingness will be replaced by knowingness. And that one who is actually does not really need any thought at all. The one who is actually, the easiness, the divinity, the consciousness, it does not need any mind, it does not need any thought. Because it can know things directly, it can illumine things by itself, it understands everything as it is without any media or medium. So that is why, from that highest standpoint, this thinking is not required. What we have to do then? We have to take a decision. It is helpful for all of us to make a decision to stop mental conversation and useless blabbering. That mental conversation, unnecessary conversation, and then blabbering which goes on, that has to be set aside. How it can be set aside? We have to stop identifying with these things. Especially, whatever we think ourselves to be, whatever we think ourselves is, whatever one thinks oneself is to be or one is, that has to be disidentified with. We have to disidentify with that because that is not real. Whatever we are thinking about ourselves, that we are this, we are this, we are this, that is not real. None of them is real. Because as long as the ego is the prominent one and thinking that it is the most important thing and that alone is the reality, and what all its needs, the demands, the desires, they are the most prominent things, they are really important things. All this is not true. So whatever one thinks of oneself to be, that is not true. So that is why we have to disidentify with that. Then what we have to do? We have to attempt for gaining divine wisdom. When the divine wisdom unfolds, really when the divine wisdom unfolds, the mind disappears. And what happens? And conscious awareness remains. Conscious awareness remains. The mind becomes replaced by the all-pervading presence, which is also called as the allness. As long as mind was there, it was localizing everything, it was confining to one self-identity, one particular I of the ego. But once that is replaced by the conscious awareness, it is not confined to one single entity or one single body or one single internal organ. Because it is replaced, and that is all-pervading presence, which is called as allness. That itself is this knowingness, that itself is this conscious awareness, which is the knowingness in all, which is the conscious awareness in all. So mind is replaced by that conscious awareness. So when we disidentify, the mind disappears. With the spiritual unfoldment and advancement, the mind disappears. And it is also said that mind stops on its own accord. When the energy of the interest is removed, mind is interested in certain things. If that energy of that interest is removed, in that particular thing, in relation to that particular thing, the mind stops moving there. Because there is no interest. Because there is no energy which pushes the mind, which forces the mind, which adds pressure to the mind to move to function. That is not. So it will be not functioning in relation to that particular thing. So similarly, if we are able to disown it and stop identifying with it as my mind, when we don't say every time it is my mind, stop disidentifying with it, consider that as not mine, then automatically the importance that is given to it is reduced. The prominence that is given to it is gone. Then automatically it slows down and slowly it becomes quiet. And one more beautiful thing is said, our thoughts have to be depersonalized. They are connected with our person now. They have to be depersonalized. They have to be devalued. Once they are depersonalized, when we stop claiming my thought, it is there in my mind. Depersonalized, it is a thought that is there, that is all. It is not mine, neither I am the author of it nor the creator of it. I am just looking at it, that's all. It is happening. So I am depersonalizing it and I am devaluing it. Once I devalue them, the thoughts lose their attraction. When the thoughts lose their attraction, then what happens? They slowly come to become unimportant, not compulsory to think about. And it is also said that thoughts and feelings actually arise from desire. When we devalue them, even the desire goes down. Because we are devaluing the thoughts, depersonalizing the thoughts. This is a different way of managing the desire. Instead of directly telling you stop the desire, don't have the desire and all that. So we have to depersonalize the thought and devalue the thought. Voluntarily we have to devalue. That it is not important, it is not prominent. All that value is only superimposed, projected. So it is said to clear the mind. We have to merely note that all the specialness or uniqueness or the value or worth which is there in the thoughts is only because we have invested that in them and we have projected that or superimposed that in them. That is an invested, projected, superimposed belief that a thought is important, a thought is very prominent, very valuable, very worthy, very precious. We cannot do away with the thought. And then along with the thought we have to involve in the action. So all this is to be disidentified. We have to understand that this is only an invested, superimposed, projected belief. So what we have to do then? Therefore we have to withdraw the value, withdraw the worth, withdraw the importance and withdraw the interest. Value, worth, importance, interest. If we withdraw these four, thought will fall. Try any thought. Practically let us think. Suppose there is a thought that is bothering us. That I have seen a particular object and then I have to have that object. So the tendency in the mind is it is very important. If I have, there will be a lot of joy. If I have, there will be a lot of status. If I have, people will think that I am great, that I am having or owning or possessing this object. So all these thoughts are running like that. So we start with the depersonalizing thought. First of all, thought is not mine only. And then whatever importance it has, it is all projected, superimposed, invested thing. The moment we say this, we have to get into a dialogue with the thought. Whatever this thought is saying, first of all, this is not mine, it is depersonalized. And then devalue it. And then we have to clearly say, looking at it, whatever value it is having, it is an invested value. If you take away the investment, that is all it is. So it is a superimposed, it is a projected value, it is not real value. So when we analyze like this, automatically the importance is going down. And then afterwards, we say, I am withdrawing the value from it. I am withdrawing the worth from it. I am withdrawing the importance. I am withdrawing the interest. When I say this, I am withdrawing. I withdraw the importance. I know I don't think anymore that it is important. I withdraw all the interest in it that I have. I have no more interest now. No value, no worth. No importance, no interest. Why will it stay? And you have understood it is a projection. You have understood it is a superimposition. You have understood it is an investment. And you have depersonalized it. And you are disidentifying it. Any thought you try like this. Even whether others are insulting or is a big problem what is happening there. Or a very difficult situation in life. If you sit down and say depersonalize. Disidentify. Devalue. Here itself half the thing is gone. It's only projection, investment, superimposition. Another half gone. Whatever remains. That also will go when I say I am withdrawing the value, worth, interest, important. It will collapse. If we can analyze and deal with any thought practically like this, it can't continue. Because we don't deal with it, it goes on projecting. It is very important. I can't do without it. I can't live without it. If it is there only, I will be happy. If it is not there, I will be sad. It is very important. This is must be there. Everybody is having. All this we are only projecting. If we start dealing with it, it will fall. Any thought for that matter, any desire for that matter, it can be dealt in this manner. It is a practical approach. Not mere theory, practically. Sit down and then calmly look at a thought and then deal with it in this manner. It has to follow, it can't stay. Because we don't do this, it stays. And it stays right on our head and controls us. And once we start dealing with it like that, it will be calm. That is why we need to have the Shastra Jnana so that we can handle it very effectively. Now coming into the text. In Savikalpa Jnana, there is Triputi. So if I say, I know the pot is the main topic, but the one who knows the pot, the knower is there, the knowing is there, and the pot is an object of knowledge, known is there. In Savikalpa. But in Nirvikalpa Jnana, like Tattvamasi, no Triputi, only one object, Pramata, alone remains. All this vanishes. And then it is said, Mukti, we need to know certain things about it. This analysis is given by Sri Ramaraya. Mukti, meaning he is dealing with Jivan Mukti, and he says, karmas by themselves do not give moksha. This has to be understood very clearly. By themselves they cannot give moksha. But while doing them, we can get identified with the body. We can develop deha abhimana. We can develop the type of identification and then get attached and get entangled. In order to avoid this, if we take up actions with Parameshwara Arpana Buddhi, meaning that I am undertaking this action only for the sake of God, by surrendering all the results at the feet of God, even while doing, I am not saying I am able to do it by myself only because of His presence, His strength, His grace, His blessing, His will, I am able to do that. So if I am able to do that, that is Parameshwara Arpana Buddhi. And if we do it like this, automatically the dispassion starts developing, vairagya is developing without extra effort. Because I am already, as a doer, I am disowning. I am saying it is because of him, I am saying because of me, and I am doing it without me, nothing will happen, I only did it. Instead of that, God. So, vairagya happens. The first benefit here is Parameshwara Arpana Buddhi, vairagya happens. And immediately it will be followed by Chitta Shuddhi. the purity of the mind, especially the vrittis in the chitta, they become more purified, pure vrittis. Only then, slowly, after entertaining the purity of the chitta level for a long time, we can bring in the brahmakara vritti. Otherwise, it will not stand, other vrittis will not allow it. First of all, it will not find an entry. First of all, other vrittis will not give us time. We are very busily occupied with other things. We are fatigued, tired, exhausted with other vrittis. No energy. Where Brahma, where Akara, no Akara, all Vikara only. So that is why we need to purify. Chitta Shuddhi is very important. For that purpose, we need to have Vairagya. For that purpose, we need to take up selfless actions. That is what we call Parameshwara Arpada Buddhi, oriented action. So once Chitta Shuddhi is there, then Jnanam dawns in us. It is then that Jnanam enters into our head. Once we get Jnanam, then it gives us Kaivalyam. So that is why it is said, Jnanam and Kaivalyam are not different. The moment Jnanam arises, Kaivalyam is there. So Kaivalyam and Jnanam are one. Jnana Devatu Kaivalyam. But Jnanam and Kaivalyam are one only. And then we also should understand that Jnanam is Atma. Or Atma is Jnana Swarupa. So Jnanam is Atma. And Antakaranam is Anatma actually. You know that. But Antakarana, according to one particular viewpoint, is the Jnani. Because only the ego there, with the help of the mind and intellect, and then this memory says, I know this, I know that, I understand this, I gain knowledge of that. So that is the Jnani. But by itself, Antakarana is Mithya. But the Jnanam in that mind is real. Suppose if it is Shastra Jnanam in the mind is Mithya. Because of that process, it gains certain Jnanam. Jnanam is real. And whatever Jnanam is there, that Jnanam is connected to Atma, the Swarupam of Atma, the true nature of the Atma. So that Jnanam is equal to Atma Swarupam. And that Atma Swarupam is what? Anandam. And that Anandam is what? Brahman. So, Jnanam is equal to Brahman is equal to Moksha. That is how Ramaraya Kavi equates this. And he says, when I say the statement, I know myself. I know myself. In this sentence, there is Karta, Karma and Kriya. But here, the Karma and Kriya merge into Karta and only I, that Atma alone remains. Atma alone remains. The action is not there, activity is not there. Even the doership based internal organ or ego is not there. The real I, Atma alone remains. Atman alone is there. And he says, so once this is understood, if we take up that thought, Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati, the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. What does this mean? The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman means, that thought means knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. It is an experience. Becoming Brahman is an experience. So that experience meaning Anubhavam. So Brahmavit, the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. That becoming Brahman is an experience. That experience means Anubhavam. And that actually means again Jnana. Because the knowing and experiencing are not two different things. Knowing itself is experiencing. That itself is Anubhavam. That is why it is said Jnanam is Atma. That Jnanam is Anubhavam. Jnanam itself is Atma. So, the moment we gain Atma Jnana, with the purity of our internal organ, and once we gain it, that experience arises. That experience itself is Brahman, so that itself is Atma, that itself is Jnana. So, when somebody says Brahma Sayuджam, that means what? Brahma Prapti Ananda Anubhavam. So here Sayuджam and Prapti both are Samana Ardhakamalu, says Ramaraya. Meaning both are having equal meaning, same meaning. Sayuджam and Prapti. Brahma Sayuджam, Prapti, Sayuджam. So Brahma Prapti Anandam, Brahma Prapti Ananda Anubhavam is equal to Brahma Sayuджam. Like that experience itself is the Jnanam, that itself is the Atma. Atma itself is Jnanam, Atma itself is Anubhuti. It alone gives the Anubhuti, it alone alone is in the experience, in the form of experience, that also is Ananda. That also is Atma, that also is Jnana. All are one and the same. And then, here it is said that Swarupena Avasthana. This is very important. Meaning, to know one's own true nature. What is that? Liberation. Moksha. So, what does it mean? Ramarayana says, gaining that which is already there. If it is not there, that means it is limited by place or time or even by object. So, that is already there, but we are gaining. So, the traditional example is someone suddenly realized that he lost a very precious and valuable gift, gifted by a great person in the society. So he is so sad and then so bad that he could not protect it, he lost it, and then he comes home and then says, this is what has happened. I don't know whether in the morning I lost it here or afterwards I went there, outside I lost it there. And then he makes everybody in the house run here, run there. And then he goes out on the street, some passers by, what happened, I might have lost it here. Here also they start searching. And he had already visited one place of meeting. There also people are searching. Everybody is busy searching. They search and search for 3 hours. And suddenly the grandson looks at this grandfather and says, hey grandpa, what you are saying you have lost is already there inside. On your body, it is around your neck. Because you had that towel, because you had that coat, it was not visible. I am seeing it, it is there. Then is it there? It is there. Now he said, thank you, because of you I have gained this necklace, gained this chain. Did he really gain? It is already there. But he forgot that it is there. He was not aware that it is there. He thought it is, he has lost it. That is why, because he got identified with the thought that he lost it. And he accepted it as real. So he got into activity and he made many people get influenced by the thought. They also got in one fellow's Ajnana and then Avidya. It can influence everybody around them and make everybody work. Just because a group of people are working, it doesn't mean that by the virtue of majority they are all gyanis. Not at all. Need not be. So everybody might be following some foolish thought. So here the important idea is, gaining means what? It is already there. Thought that it is forgotten and then it is gained. Like that, one more thing, nowadays people are getting interested in treasures in temples. Because some places treasures were found out and thought treasures, my God, so precious and so valuable. You have really thanked the people who have really were so full of vairagya that they thought somebody will get benefited, so put it inside there. They are not there to take it. They very well know when they place it that they will not be there to take it. Let anybody, according to Bhagyam, Prarabdham, let there is something. According to Prarabdham will not come just like that. It's a Punyam. Punyam does not will not come just like that. Some nice Satkaryam. Oh, treasure, just like that, treasure will not come up. If that eligibility is not there, the moment fellow looks at treasure, he will collapse. Or there will be some dosha there connected with that, he will not be able to use it. A lot of punya is needed to really own that treasure also. The idea here is, suppose the treasure is there, and then the fellow is living on that land, on that house, where inside the treasure, he doesn't know it is there. He goes around every day begging. He pleads people, give me loan, give me this help, give me that help. I am very poor, I don't know. Suddenly one day, in order to plant a tree, a small bush-like tree, he started digging. And then suddenly something and he takes out such a treasure. Already there, but he doesn't know. Whatever is already there, he gained. Like that, Mahavakyas also give us the gaining of Prapta Prapti. It is already Prapta Prapti. What is already gained, they will make us gain. What is already there, already attained. But we don't know. But God, but we don't have the knowledge that it is there. That is the reason. And then another thing is Parihrita Parihara. Meaning what? For example, a garland is there, and that garland is mistaken for snake. And then there is so much of hangama that fellow creates. Because the snake, and then it has come here, and then what would have happened if I had garlanded this great leader? I would have garlanded him a snake, and then immediately the snake, if it had bit him, my God, then people would have thought that I am responsible. I am from the opposition party or I am from terrorist gang. I purposely, in the form of a garland, I got a snake and then garlanded and made that fellow die. Then goes on thinking. Then suddenly other fellows, it is not a snake here, it is garland only. Hey, yeah, see, he brings a torchlight because late in the night, and then suddenly some electricity is also not functioning. That time he thinks it is a snake. Now the light is thrown on it, pointed at the body, he thinks, no, it is not a snake, it is a garland. So, whatever was thought till then, that is removed. It is not a snake, it is a garland. So, the other says then, the non-existent snake got removed. Like that, the non-existent identification, whatever is non-existent world, non-existent buddhi, mana, chitta, ahankara, all these things are actually not there. So, that is removed. So, that is why through Mahavakyas, Ajnanam is removed. So that we will come to know that what we are in our true nature. Actually, Ajnanam is veiling it and then projecting so many things, so that will be removed. So this way, Parihrita, Parihara, both the ways, they say that we will gain the knowledge of one's own true nature. Both the ways. So then, Ramaraya Kavi says, Moksham is already attained. It is an already attained thing. It is a Siddha Vishaya. It is already Siddha. We have already attained. It is Swaswarupam. It is our own true nature. Through Jnana, what happens? All the bondages get destroyed. All the bondages, they get destroyed. Because all the bondages are destroyed, how they are destroyed? The veiling is destroyed. Bondage is due to avidya, and that avidya, again, the bondage is in the form of internal organ or antakarana. So, in antakarana is binding us. Because of Brahma Jnanam, whatever we have gained, avidya goes away. Along with avidya, internal organ goes away. Avidya and internal organ both get destroyed. Once avidya and internal organ both get destroyed, then the totality level Maya, what it will do? All the remaining objects get merged into Maya, and the Maya merges into Brahma. At the individual level, avidya gone, the product of avidya, internal organ gone. At the totality level, if we see from that viewpoint, then all beings merge into Maya, Maya merges into Brahma. So what remains there now? What remains is the original form. What were there earlier? Suppose there is a mirror. In that mirror there is a reflection. The mirror is broken, reflection is gone. What remains? Original face remains. Always identified with the reflection, and then in mirror there are so many other objects. The main reflection in the mirror identifies with many other objects in the mirror. All reflections, one reflection gets identified with other reflection. There is reflection thinks I am a real entity, and then the other things are its own things, and they are very much required for its survival. And then it comes across some other reflections which think that they are also real. All these reflections will have a nice samsara and relationship. Finally, one stroke mirror is gone, everything gone. Like once the movie is off, comes to an end, all the characters come to an end. Once the drama comes to an end, all the characters come to an end. They don't continue any further. After the drama is over, they don't come out of the stage and they continue in the same manner. They will not. But they know it is over when they come out. That's all it is. So, when the Chidabhasa goes away, because the mirror also goes away, that itself is moksha. Because avidya, And what remains? One's own true nature remains. That is what is consciousness. That is what Jnanam gives us. That Jnanam, once we try for that Jnanam, we will get all this. So we remain there afterwards as the ever shining, self-luminous, ever resplendent, supreme Brahman. Sarvakaram, Sarvam, Sarvanisheda, Avadhibhutam, Satyam Shashvata, Ekamanantam, Satyam Shashvatam, Ekamanantam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam, Sarvakaram, Sarvam, Sarvanisheda, Avadhibhutam, Satyam Shashvatam, Ekamanantam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam. Adi Shankaracharya in Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sarasagraha says, Sarvakaram, Sarvam, Sarvanisheda, Avadhibhutam. That Brahman with the shines as the world of names and forms. Sarvakaram as the world of names and forms. Sarvam, Asarvam. Due to imagination of Maya during the time of transactions. It is all because of the kalpana of the Maya and the transactional world. The Brahman shines as the world of names and forms. And Sarvanisheda Avadhibhutam. So, the Brahman which shines alone, all by itself, in the highest state, then at that time, none of them are there. All these things vanish. And for all the shining things now, the Avadhi is Brahman only. The limit, they cannot go beyond that. They will end there. Once they come to Brahman, all will vanish and merge into Brahman. That is the ultimate limit for all of them. Satyam Shashvatam Ekamanantam Shuddham Buddham Tattvamasitvam. What is the Brahman? Satyam. It is real. It is always existent. And because of it, everything exists. Shashvatam, permanent. Ekam, one alone. Anantam, it is endless. Shuddham, very pure. Buddham, fully conscious. That which is pure, fully conscious, real, permanent, eternal. One alone, endless one alone. Thou art that. Tattvamasitvam. Thou art that. So, that's what is said here. What are we then? We are that which is air, which shines as all. And at the same time, it is not at all. It shines as all names and forms. At the same time, it is not at all. Because all these are appearances. And all of them vanish when pure Brahman alone shines in the highest state. None of them are there. So for all of them, that is the limit. And that Brahman, which is real, which is permanent, which is one, which is endless, which is pure, which is consciousness, and that alone are we, the order, pure. So this is how the contemplation is to be made. Nityananda, Akhandaika Rasam, Nishkalamakriya, Astavikaram, Pratyagvinnam, Paramam Vyaktam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam, Nityananda Akhandaika Rasam, Nishkalamakriya, Astavikaram, Pratyagvinnam, Paramam Vyaktam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam, Shuddham Buddham, Tattvamasitvam. So, Nityananda, it is continuous, eternal Ananda. Always. The other Ananda which we gain through worldly objects is only momentary, it is only fleeting, it is temporary, it is dependent, and we don't have the freedom, we don't have the independence to gain it whenever we want. We need the coordination of so many factors, confusions of so many things, and then for a brief period of time we may gain that. That is all it is. But here, Nityananda, it is Akhanda Ekarasam. It is unbroken, undivided, divisionless. One rasam, juiciness, unbroken, continuous juiciness of experience, without a break. Otherwise, we reach that pinnacle of that joy, it will be very juicy, but only for some time. But it is continuous. Then, Nishkala, it has no parts, it is wholesome. Akriyam, there is no action there. Avikaram, modificationless, actionless, modificationless. Pratyak abhinnam, not different from the innermost self. Param avyaktam, beyond the unmanifest, not even the unmanifest, it is beyond the unmanifest. Shuddham, buddham, pure and consciousness, tattvam asatvam. Thou art that and that alone. So, that way, if we can keep thinking, contemplating, then we will get detached from the external physical world, from the thought world. We will devalue all the thoughts, we will depersonalize all the thoughts, we will disidentify with them, we will withdraw the value, we will withdraw the worth, we will withdraw the importance, we will withdraw the interest. Now, value, worth, importance, interest will be on inside because it is not pratyak abhinnam, which is not different from the innermost self. Because the rest all is only appearance. So, if we contemplate like that, and then we get totally introverted and oriented towards the pratyagatma, and then we will get deeply rooted in the pratyagatma. And thereafterwards, it is said that the one who is in Ajnana, the one who is reflected in Antakarana, and then that Antakarana is surrounded by, engulfed by Ajnana, and that Antakarana is joined with the samskaras of Antakarana, that is what is Jiva. So, when the Buddhi merges in Ajnana in deep sleep, those samskaras still remain. So, the Jivatva is only due to Buddhi. So, Buddhi merges in deep sleep, Buddhi merges into Ajnana. Here, that is why it is called as Jiva is Pra plus Ajna. Prajna, meaning what? It is fully ignorant. And here it is said, Ramaraya Kavi says, the presence of Jiva is still there. We cannot say he is totally absent, but he is present as the Prajna in ignorance. So then it is said, pure Chaitanyam, which is the Sakshi for the deep sleep, but that Chaitanyam, having Ajnana as the Upadi, is the witness here, and the name of the witness in beginning of the creation is Ishvara. The Upadi of Sakshi, which is Ajnana, along with Antakarana Samskaras, generally for a normal understanding, but actually that Antakarana is totally merged in it, so that Antakarana is no more available, Antakarana Rahita. So there is no difference at all arising out there, which differentiates the witness of the waking state from the witness of the dream state and the witness of the deep sleep state. So, the witness in all the three states is one and the same. There is no difference between these witnesses. That witnesses are different because the way in which they are there present is different, and the identification with the upadis is different. So, that doesn't create any difference. So, Antakarana Samskara Vedam might be there, but the Chaitanya Sakshi Vedam is not there. So, the one who is an Ajnana is the Sakshi. He alone falls into Antakarana, samskara, rupa, upadhi and becomes prajna. He falls into internal organ, becomes pramata, and then that is the reason why, in spite of he falling into all these things and becoming all these, but he still remains as the Sakshi, and that witness alone, due to Upadhi Vedam, becomes Pramata. But Upadhi Vedam is not actually real, so the Sakshi is not divided by the identification, so-called identification with Upadhis. It is always the same Sakshi. So, whether it is in the Jagrata Avastha, Swapna Avastha, or Sushupta Avastha, as Vishwa, or Taijasa, or Prajna, whatever it is only same one witness. Najagran Name Swapna,
Najagran Name Swapna,
Ova Sushupti, Navishvo Nava Taijasa, Prajna Kova, self free from all attributes, and I am what? Trayanam Turiya. I am the fourth state. I am not Vishwa, I am not Taijasa, I am not Prajna, I am not Jagrata, not Swapna, not Sushupti. I do not have any of these states, nor I am indweller in these states. I am only that one auspicious self. That in other words means that pure witness which is there present in all these things. The husband was talking to his wife about the mischievous nature of his son, because this fellow was imitating his father, this husband of the wife. So the husband is telling the wife, see, did you scold or caution our son for imitating me? He asked the wife. Wife said, I told him not to act like a fool. That is what she thinks. Be intelligent, Ray. Why are you acting like father? Anyway, he is a fool. Instead of saying that, I told him not to act like a fool. See, that boy is imitating the father. According to the mother, that is foolish. But this father is getting irritated. Son only though, he could have taken it as fun, but identification. How can he imitate? And this boy is imitating him, forgetting himself. He is trying to be somebody else. That is what the jiva is. Not knowing one's own true nature, trying to know, trying to imitate like other, and then in the world, because of this, so many complaints, and then the mother Shruti Mata comes and says, don't act like a fool. Then what? You are different. Your original nature is different. Be like that. It is very important. So the doctor came to the patient and told him, I have a good news and bad news for you. Which one you want first? He said, okay, good news will give. And this man said, good news is you have only 3 weeks to live. Huh? If this is good news, then what is the bad news? I told my personal assistant to tell you, but he delayed it by 2 weeks and 5 days. Only 2 दिन. A दुनिया है 2 दिन का मेला, like that. He will think like that. 2 दिन. What can you do now? So, actually, it is said the whole world, when they say only 2 days, that means what? There are only 2 days that create everything. What? One is birthday, next one is death day. Only 2 days. They are the real things. Rest all is tamasha only. Because they are very prominent. You see any photograph anywhere hanged or anywhere hung, the photograph, only 2 days will be there. Birthday and death day. So what about between days? Useless. All not only. There is nothing useful is achieved by anybody. All trash. So then that other they have to write all days, no? This is it, that it, nothing but born type. Too decent, they are real. Other things are not real. So you are always chasing unreal things. That is why they say 2 days. That is why this fellow also got 2 days ago. Once it so happened, one person went to a party. He was feeling bored. He had to strike a conversation with somebody. So somebody was beside him. And then he spoke to him and then said, look, that lady who is there, so awfully dressed, and that lady looks awful. I don't know who is that lady. This man said, she is my wife. The moment he said, she is my wife, in the first conversation, no, I don't mean that this lady. What you were saying, not that. The one who is beside this lady, that lady is awful. He said, that is my daughter. Then he will understand, better keep quiet. Why strike a conversation? If I strike a conversation, he will strike me now. If I go on like this. That is what is called as empty, unnecessary talking, mental talking and blurring. That's what is that we have to stop that. We have to withdraw our mind from that. We have to just disown that and just forget about such things consciously. Then we will be able to remain quiet. In that quietude, we will be able to experience more alertness and liveliness. Once the doctor was talking to his nurse, and then one woman came, met the doctor, got the treatment and left. He looked at the nurse and said, if at all I have fallen for any woman in my life, and if I have really loved somebody wholeheartedly in my life, it is this woman. It is this woman I love. Then the nurse said, why don't you marry, doctor? Why don't you get married to her? Doctor said, how can I? She is responsible for the survival of this hospital. She is such a patient that she goes on paying money in the form of fees, in the form of so many tests. If I marry her, I have to do it free, then hospital will collapse. So she should remain a patient, I should continue loving her. Egoistic transactions should be like that. And that whole transaction itself is a false. So that I which is there as a limited ego, that I, all the transactions that are connected to that I are not correct. So now coming back to our analysis, Sri Sureshwaracharya in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashyavartika, as cited by Madhusudana Saraswati, says, the witness does not differ from one body to another, even though the knower and the means of knowledge are different. Only one witness in all. Sakshi is one. Just because body is different, just because the knower inside is different, just because the means of knowledge is different, witness is not different. Same witness in all of us. Pots might be different, the contents in pot might be different, but space is same. Space is not different. Same space. So, just as an eternal object is not cognized differently by different persons, if an object is there, suppose the object is the light and light stand. I think almost all of us will think that it is light stand only. It will not come, oh, it is my uncle, somebody says it is my friend, I think it is a stick, I think it is a candy. I don't think the sensible people will talk like that. Usually, delusional people may say, but generally everybody says this is the same thing. Like that. Even though people are many, the understanding is same that it is the same. Similarly, bodies might be many, the knowers might be many, means of knowledge might be many, but the witness is the same according to Sureshwaracharya. Says, therefore he is known as the Atma. Because he is the same in all people, he is known as the Atma, the knower, etc. Who are witnessed by the witness in consciousness may change. Who are witnessed by the witness in consciousness. That may change, they may change. But the Atma does not undergo any change. Because it is the witness, it is also the witness of the absence of the knower and the absence of the means of knowledge. That is the beauty. Witness is the witness not only of the presence of the knower and presence of the means of knowledge and then the various information that comes as knowledge, but it is also witness of the absence of the knower and absence of the means of knowledge. Example is Sushupti. The so-called knower is absent, the so-called means of knowledge are absent. The witness is still continuing. So, similarity of Jiva and Ishvara and deep sleep is that both are devoid of identification with body and senses. Jiva also doesn't have body and senses, and then Ishvara also doesn't identify body and senses. That is why in deep sleep, samskara become merged in avidya, which is the material cause for recollection, etc. Only that. So that is why even there also there is oneness is seen. So continuing further, it is said somebody in deep sleep, because still the 8th sloka is continuing, it will be concluded very soon. So in deep sleep, always same thought that I slept happily may not be there, because due to some inconvenience in the room, or the airflow is not there, temperature is not okay, the bed has some bugs there, or the bed is thorny. So many other reasons, there will be a feeling I slept unhappily also may arise, and after waking up, the Antakarana wakes up, this thought may also happen. And it is also that sometimes for people it is also possible that there can be sorrow even in deep sleep. How can that be possible? Because how can that, then it is said, also Saraswati says, if it is accepted that each one of these three states itself is threefold. Each state is threefold. Waking state is threefold, dream state is threefold, deep sleep state is threefold. If it is accepted that each state is threefold, then we can say that sorrow also is there in the deep sleep. How? Number one, waking state. Waking state, waking in the waking state, dreaming in the waking state, sleeping in the waking state. That is how it is analyzed. Waking in the waking state means when there is knowledge through valid means. When we are gaining knowledge through valid means of knowledge, it is waking in waking state. Then, when we are in delusion, in waking state, we can get deluded by seeing the nacre, we may think it is silver. Seeing the shukti, we will think it is rajata. Seeing the rope, we will think it is snake. Like that, we are in delusion. So, we are in delusion, it is dream in waking state. And then, suppose we are in fatigue and torpidity, that the tiredness, exhausted, like that in waking state, that is sleep in waking state. We will be like we are fatigued, exhausted, tired. Sleep in waking state. So, waking in waking state, dream in waking state, sleep in waking state. Now comes waking in dream. Waking in dream, Ramaraya Kavi stresses this. Waking in dream. He says, and then Madhusudan Saraswati also says the same, when someone receives mantra in dream state, and Ramaraya Kavi says he got mantra diksha in dream state. He got one mantra in dream also. He only says, I am the example for this, I have got mantra like this. In dream also mantra dikshas can happen. But for an highly enlightened source, meaning very pure source, tomorrow don't start dreaming now and say that, call your wife and say, I got mantra diksha. Now what? Now I will give you diksha. Then she will say, in dream I will take. No actual. Because you got in dream, I will also get it. Whatever it is. So the idea is, when one receives mantra in dream, it is waking in dream. And then during dream, if a person feels he is seeing the dream, sometimes the dream is there, he feels he is seeing the dream. In dream, he sees he is seeing the dream. Sometimes. That is called as dream in dream. And then, it is said, when the same thing that cannot be, when something that cannot be described in the waking state is vaguely experienced in the dream, something that cannot be described in the waking state, vaguely experienced in the dream, vaguely, that is sleep in dream. Now comes to deep sleep. Waking in deep sleep, when there is sattvika vritti and when the nature of happiness is there, sattvika vritti, nature of happiness, nicely going on, it is waking in sleep. Suppose there is rajasika vritti and at the time of recollection, when they say I slept happily, but there is rajasika, rajas there, it is dream in deep sleep. And suppose there is tamasika vritti and may arise and recollection in the form of Vaislavya that there is tamasika vritti at that time and it is sleep in deep sleep. If this is understood like this, it is said that Madhusudana says in Vasishta Vartika, all these things are in detail dealt with. He also says this much is enough here. So if this is understood, that each state is divided by 3, 3, 3, 3, and if such a division is there, we accept that each of the 3 states itself is threefold, then sorrow and deep sleep also is possible. Not only happiness, that also is common. It's a possibility. But whatever it is, whatever might be there which we experience in waking dream or deep sleep, all are witnessed by one witnessing consciousness. Says further, all differences are known to witness in relation to outer objects. There are differences in the body. Pramata also has differences with others. All are known to be witnessed by the same witnessing consciousness. Witness has no such differences. Then, if witness has differences, he cannot be the Sakshi. So there is no Jagrat witness separate, Swapna witness separate, Sushupti witness separate, and Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna are not witnessed by different people. Same witness. So once that is established, it will be proved that all these are not there. Only the witness is always there. He said in Sushupti deep sleep, in Murti, death, in Murcha fainting, this Sakshitva is same. When a person is fainted also, dead also, in deep sleep also, same Sakshitva is there. The Sakshi remains. So it is said, witness is there. So to recognize the difference in Atma, somebody says there is difference in the witness. To recognize that difference in the witness, there is no other witness. To recognize the difference in witness, there is no other witness. The other witness is not, there is only one witness. So there is only one witness and that alone. No one recognizes one's own absence of existence. Is there any possibility that I recognize my absence of existence? It is not there. So we can recognize the absence of other objects. And if other objects can they recognize like that? They also don't have capacity because they are illumined by the witnessing consciousness only. So Atma Bhedam is asiddham. It cannot be proven. So in Sushupti also there is no Sakshi Bhedam. And then here, Ramaraya Kavi somehow daringly comments. I don't think they are eligible to even comment upon the comment. But he says, if Paribhasha says that there is a Sakshi Bhedam in deep sleep, it is not correct. Ramaraya Kavi says, they are great scholars and that is left to them, we don't want to go in detail. So, the idea that is proving here, just as Sureshwara said, just as various other masters said, he is saying, one witness alone, no different witnesses. Only one witness. The witness is witness to happiness, the knower of happiness, and the enjoyer of happiness. It is witness to all. And one more thing is said. The witness is only gnata, it is not bhokta. Witness never enjoys what it sees. Witness only sees. Mind enjoys what it sees. The pramata enjoys what it sees. But the witness only sees, it doesn't enjoy. The bhoktatva is not there. Only it is a gnata. It is only knows. सिर्फ देखते हैं. देखने के पश्चात न तादात्म्य हो जाते न भोक्ता बनते. If it is becoming bhokta, it is not witness. So to be witness means just to see, not to become an enjoyer. So only gnata, not a bhokta. Even if it is known to Sakshi, only based on experience of pramatas, only then there is remembrance. That is all not connected with this. Witness does not have experience that is the bhokta. Witness that sees, even when prajna is experiencing the happiness in deep sleep, that there is happiness, even then witness simply sees. Same witness is there in waking state, same witness is there in dream state, same witness is there in deep sleep. So it is said, Sakshi is all illuminator, always detached, all illumining principle. Kevala Gnana Swarupam. He identifies with Prajna and experiences happiness and ignorance. Then he identifies with Vishwa and remembers his Sushupti, Ajnana and Sukha. Just because of that, there is no Veda in the witness. Witness is always a witness. It appears as if that witness, yesterday we have seen the example, that red flower in the mirror, red color somebody sees the face in the mirror, so face is also getting red color like that. The witness may appear to get that red color in the mirror. It is not getting. It is the same witness always. So that is also. Then there is also a discussion about Omkara Upasana, and that Upasana, how the Om Ityakaksharam Brahma Upasana, and that is also they have dealt very deeply in the Panchikaranam series, Art of Living series. But for briefly it is said here, Akara, Ukara, Makara, each one represents one state, waking state, dream state, sleep state. So Akara represents Vishwa, Ukara represents Taijasa, Makara represents Prajna, and the Adidevatas there, Akara for waking state Brahma, for dream state Vishnu, and then the deep sleep state Rudra, and then the three levels of creation, Akara, Ukara, Makara, Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, the creation, sustenance and dissolution, and then Trigunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and then Sachidananda, Sat, Chit, Ananda. So all these three have to be combined as one and say it is all Akara, Ukara, Makara, Om Iti Ekaksharam Brahma. You have to meditate like that. You have to meditate Trigunas as one, Sachidananda as one, Srushti, Sthiti, Laya as one, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra as one, Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna as one, Akara, Ukara, Makara as one. So when we meditate like that, it is only oneness that is experienced. So that also is a process here. Omkara, Om Ityakaksharam, Brahma, Upasana. Due to this, it is said here that one gets Krama Mukti. One goes into Brahma Loka, and thereafterwards, when Brahma also concludes his role for the time being, then they go and merge into whatever it is, like that. And there in Brahma Loka, there is also called that Brahma alone teaches Brahma Gnana, and afterwards Brahma with Brahma and Bhavati. That also is a possibility. Some people say like that, but whatever it is, Jnana gives ultimate moksha. Krama Mukti also is a process, it's a little slow process, but it is a process. Accepted. Abhraya Bhatmya Vijnana Yatha Nayyam Sakaranam Nasyedevam Swayadhatmya Gnanam Jivadikam Samam Abhrayadhatmya Vijnana Yatha Nayyam Sakaranam Nasyedevam Swayadhatmya Gnanam Jivadikam Samam. The sky looks blue. Sky is blue. That is what our understanding is. But actually, scientifically also, because we can't see something with a greater distance as it is, we see it as blue. So, sky is blue according to the Shastra also. It is a bhavana, it is a thought, it is thinking. It is thinking, it is a thought that sky is blue. But actually it is not blue. So once we know the true nature of the sky, then we come to understand that the sky is blue thought is a delusion. It goes away, it will not stay. Similarly, in Vedanta, Nishchaya, Ramaraya says, similarly, when the Atma Swarupa Bhava enters inside us, Atma Swarupa Bhava, I am the Atma Swarupa, I am not body, mind, intellect, memory, ego, I am Atman, Atma Swarupa. When that thought enters into us, then we come to know that the Jiva, the Indriya, the Sharira Bhavana, all are delusion. Like sky is blue is delusion. Like that, I am the body, I am the senses, I am the mind, I am the ego, and these are all mine. All this becomes a delusion. When we get the Atma Swarupa Bhava inside, and he said that Bhranti goes away. These Bhrantis, meaning error, mistake, delusion, wrong notion, false idea, all come under the meaning category of Bhranti. It can be delusion, false idea, it can be wrong notion, error or mistake. All these things go away, and the cause of Bhranti, which is Maya, also goes away. How? Atma Swarupa Bhava. One Atma Swarupa Bhava thought, if we keep it safely in mind, Maya, Maya Karya, everything vanishes. Ramayana, it says. And then it says, Nishprapancha Brahma Rupam. Nishprapancha Brahma Rupam. Yathatmyam Pratyagatmanah. Yathatmyam Pratyagatmanah. Tatjnatva muchyate jantuh. Tatjnatva muchyate jantuh. Samsara Mahika Swayam. Samsara Mahika Swayam. Again, this is from Vedanta Nishchaya of Ramaraya Kavi. He says, very clear, Nishprapancha Brahma Rupam Yathatmyam Pratyagatmanah. That Brahman is Nishprapancha. There is no world in Brahman. The world is non-existent in pure Brahman, pure consciousness, supreme Brahman, ultimate reality. It is not there. Brahman is just there, all by itself, in itself, as itself, pure consciousness, Suddha Brahman. Nishprapancha Brahma Rupam. Of the form of Nishprapancha Brahman is Yadhatmyam Pratyagatmanah. The all-pervading consciousness is Brahman. That all-pervading consciousness which is without the Prapancha, which is of the form of having no Prapancha in it, and that is the consciousness which is in the body, which is the innermost self. Pratyagatmanah. It is Pratyagatmanah. That Brahman is Pratyagatmanah. Tat jnatva muchyate jantuh. The one who knows in this manner gets liberated. Samsara Mahika Swayam. From the Maya samsara. This samsara which is filled with Maya, full of Maya. Maya alone got transformed as the samsara, which is indeterminable, which is inexplicable, which is the power of God, which is cannot be said it is there, at the same time it cannot be said it is not there. Indeterminable and inexplicable. Such a thing got transformed into the whole world. That Maya alone has become the whole world. And this is what is samsara we are going. So that type of Maya, samsara, one becomes liberated from it. How? By simply knowing that Supreme Brahman which is without the world, even before the creation of the world, that Supreme Brahman was pure Shuddha Parabrahma. That Shuddha Parabrahma is this Pratyagatma. That is all we have to understand, that is all we have to know. This is Pratyagatma. Not different from pure Brahman, Shuddha Parabrahma. This one thought, if we continuously maintain, keep on contemplating on this thought. This is what else is required? Is that pure thought. And then, Sat means all these objects are imagined in Brahman, and Brahman is like a wall, or Brahman is like a screen. That is Adhishtanam, that is Adharam. Hence, Paramatma alone really exists. All these things which are superimposed on it that don't exist. What is true when we look at the world? The screen is true, the wall is true, the Adhishtanam is true, the Adharam is true, the substratum is true. That alone is Brahman. That is true. That is why it is Sat. All are projected on it. They are Asat. Only Sat is Brahman. If somebody says pot, then pot is imagined in Brahman. And even though Maya is the actually Upadana Karanam of pot, but actually from the relative standpoint, mud or clay is the Upadana Karanam. But from the standpoint of Tattva, there is no mud and clay, where there is only all-pervading Brahman. So if which is the support for Maya. So because Maya also cannot function without Brahman, so that way it is said Brahman alone is real. From that Brahman, fabrication is what is appearing here. And so because of the Brahman, all the fabrication is there. So what is real here? Not the fabrication, but Brahman alone. And it is said Sat means Brahman alone pervades all objects. That is he, that is she, that is it, that is that, that is everything. That is mountain, that is spring, that is a flowing water, that is a river, that is the forest, that is everything. Brahman alone pervades. If we remove that, this, he, she, it, and what remains? Ease remains. That easiness is Brahman. That easiness is Sat. That Sat is Brahman. In all the 3 periods of time, there is only one thing that is permanently present. That is I, the real I. That is Sat. That is Brahman. Next, Chit. Chit means Jnana, Chit means Chaitanya, Chit means Drupal. That which knows itself and that which makes known others also. Like a lamp which is lighting, which is self-luminous, which is luminous from the relative standpoint, it is light and it makes others know, it makes itself also know. Because when the lamp is lit, you know where lamp is. And in the light, you know where others are. So similarly, the Jnana is like that. It illumines itself, it is self-luminous, it illumines everything. And it illumines inner things also, outer things also. So that is why inner things like mind, intellect, memory, ego, and then the contents also are illumined by it. Outside objects also are illumined by it. Transactions, internal organs also are illumined by it and known by it. So, only thing that knows all this is Chitta, that is Jnana, that is Atma. If our attention or concentration is not there on anything, we will not be able to know. We will not be able to see, even though we are seeing, we will not be able to hear, even though we are hearing. So, what is important is the presence of that being. So that is why it is. In Sushupti, in Samadhi also, when internal organ is not functioning, still that Atma is present and then Atma alone remains as a witness. So the power to know happiness in deep sleep also is for Atma only. Internal organ doesn't know, Jiva doesn't know, so only that Atma alone knows it. So that alone is Atma after waking up, which gives the hint to the waker, it alone is there. So that Atma is Jnana. Now the Ananda. Ananda, here few types are described here by Ramaraya Kavi. Nitya, Nirupadika, Niratishaya Ananda. The eternal, limiting, adjunctless or causeless, excessive bliss. That is it. Nitya, that is dealt here. Nitya means permanent. See, whatever joy comes in our experience, it comes only because of one thing. We have a strong desire and we want some sense of that, we want some sense experience. There are so many desires, one after another cropping up. It becomes very strong, it becomes creates a restless mind, agitation-filled mind. We will act, we will work, we will earn, we will create a conducive atmosphere, we will buy, we will now bring it, we will try to experience it, we will enjoy it. At that time of enjoyment, all the gadbad which is going on, all that is halted for brief moments. When that is halted, the Ananda which is inside from Sarupa, that beams out. Same Ananda which is there in deep sleep, which is without any cause, which is there, the same Ananda beams out even when these vrittis are silenced for a few seconds because that satisfaction is there, desire is fulfilled, and we wrongly attribute that to the external senses, external sense objects or that experience, but actually it is inside which beams when the mind becomes quiet because of the satisfaction. So that is Nityam, which is always there. Ananda which comes because of sense objects, sensory experience, world experience, all Anityam. Next, Nirupadika. Ananda which rises without any cause is Nirupadika. When it rises without any cause, in deep sleep it rises without any cause. Where which cause is there? Who is there in deep sleep? And a Rasgulla is there, or Jamun is there, or girlfriend is there, or boyfriend is there, or any money is there, lottery is there. Nothing is there, causeless. External world, there are so many causes. In spite of that, we complain. In spite of that, we are not in happiness. So causeless Ananda is there. And that causeless Ananda is same for all jivas. So it has no upadhi only. It is nirupadhika. In this there are no causes such as food, job, movie, woman, man. So this is natural Ananda. So Ananda is nirupadhika naturally. And Niratishayam, there is no greater Ananda than this. In the world we say this is greater than that, that is greater than this. This is the ultimate Ananda. And Ramaraya gives an example, I think only he can give. He gives an example where he says, even the newly married couple who are so much interested in continuous non-stop romancing, they also get tired, forget romancing and going to sleep. And experience that Ananda, where they are not there with each other. And then not knowing Ananda, that Ananda of the Atma. So that is greater than even this romance of the newly married couple. Meaning what? That is greatest Ananda. There is no greater Ananda than this. This is the ultimate Ananda. Then Akhanda Ananda. Just as in Sat, that which is continuously present and available in all objects is Akhanda. So that existence of Atma is unaffected by anything. Similarly, Atma is Anandam. So existence of Anandam is unaffected. So the Anandam is Nityam, Nirupadikam, Niratisayam, Akhandam. And this is what is Ananda, Satchidananda, Sattva Chitta Ananda. Akasha is all pervading, but due to time in Pralaya, even Akasha is folded back. So Akasha also is limited. And then Akasha also is not unlimited, even though it is all pervading. Then time also is not Akhandam, because time is not Akasha. Akasha is limiting the time from the standpoint of object, limited by object. Akasha is different, time is different. So time also is limited. Akasha is limited, time is limited. So what is that which is unlimited? Which is the witness to the time also, witness to Akasha's birth also, Pralaya also. Only one thing, that is Atma, which is Satchidananda. That Atma is substratum for all objects. Even time and space are Nitya. Satchidananda alone is the reality, because it has no Swagata, Veda, Sajatiya Veda, Vijatiya Veda, only that is there. Even Satchidananda also, Ramaraya Kavi says, Agni has got fire, heat, light, redness. Agni means fire, it has got heat, light, redness. Heat, light, redness are not different things. They are one thing of Agni. Like Sat, Chit, Ananda are not different things. They are all one thing of the Atma. So, they are not Paraspara Bhinna Dharmas, they are all only one. Sat means that which exists. For knowing about the existence of the objects, we need a lamp and light. For knowing about the Atma, we don't need anything. Atma is Swayam Pramana, it is there. Atma has got Astitvam, Atma only is Pramana, there is no other Pramana. Atma knows itself, so Atma, because it knows itself, it is Jnana. So Sat is Chit. Because Atma is always there, Atma which is always there knows itself. Because it knows itself, the same Sat is Chit. Sat is equal to Chit. Then, gaining oneself or experiencing oneself is Atyanta Sukham. In Sushupti, everybody gains oneself. In Samadhi, everyone gains themselves, oneself. In Samadhi, they don't gain somebody else. They gain their own true nature. In Sushupti, they are with themselves. So, because that is the ultimate thing. Who knows that Sushupti Ananda, it is the same Atma. Who knows the Samadhi Ananda, it is the same Atma. That knowledge itself is Ananda. That knowledge itself is Anubhava in Samadhi. So, that is here is called Sukham is Atma alone. So, that Sukham is Atma. That knowledge of that Sukham is Atma. That experience of that Sukham is Atma. That is Chit. So, Chit is Sat, Sat is Chit, Sat Chit is Ananda. Ramaraya will repeat it all. So this Shiva is greatest Ananda, Nityananda, Nirdeshayananda, Nirupadika Ananda, Akhanda Ananda. So that is what we have gained. We will gain. When we will gain this knowledge in this process, we will gain the ultimate knowledge. So may we all gain by the grace of the great masters and by the grace of Bhagavan himself. And today, I think almost we have concluded the 8th sloka. Once again we will chant and then repeat as almost concluded. Najagran name swapna ova sushuptihi navishvo navatai jasa Tadeko Vasishtha प्रचोदयात् हयग्रीव 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 ॐ हंसस्सोऽहं विश्वावतीर्णरूपाय चिन्मयानन्दरूपिणे तुभ्यं नमो हयग्रीव विद्याराजाय विष्णवे स्वाहा हंसस्सोऽहं ॐ श्रीं हौं ॐ नमो भगवते हयग्रीवाय विष्णवे मह्यं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा हयग्रीवमङ्गलं 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 विद्याराजमङ्गलं विद्याराजमङ्गलं विष्णवे मङ्गलं विष्णवे मङ्गलं हयवदनामङ्गलं हयवदनामङ्गलं विष्णवे मङ्गलं विष्णवे मङ्गलं हयग्रीवमङ्गलं 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 सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः श्री